بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah collected a narration in one of his books that is lesser known to the majority of people. However, it is very well known to the students of knowledge and the scholars of hadith. It's one of his most primary books and one of his most impressive collections, and that is his book Al-Adab al-Mufrad. Al-Adab al-Mufrad is a book separate from his Sahih. And we'll take just a minute to acquaint ourselves with al-Bukhari's work for a little bit. There is no work in the history of Islamic literature, in the history of all the works of Islam, and all the books written after the book of Allah, the Quran, there is no book more significant and critical and important and authentic and pined over and researched and developed and the knowledge of it refined than Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari is an authentic compilation in which Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah sought out to compile the most authentic and critical narrations that gather the essence of the Prophet Muhammad's Sunnah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It's not just one book. It's actually a collection of 96 books. And this book begins with the book of the beginning of Revelation, and it ends with the book of Tawheed. But it's a collection of books. One of those books in Sahih al-Bukhari is the book of Al-Adab, etiquettes, right? The book of etiquettes. He has another book that is more expansive with not as stringent a condition of authenticity, separate from that book. And he called it Al-Adab al-Mufrad, right? It is the separate book of etiquette. And the reason why he called it the separate book of etiquette is to distinguish it from the book of etiquette in his Sahih. Both books are very important. Both books are very critical and crucial. However, this book, Al-Adab al-Mufrad, is less known, and it's not as strict a condition, meaning that there are weak narrations found in Al-Adab al-Mufrad for al-Bukhari. It's a book which doesn't have the same level of authenticity that his Sahih has. In this book, he has many chapters regarding the etiquettes of as-salam. As-salam, conveying as-salam to one another. This tradition of the Muslimin and this blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon humanity. And one of the chapters of this book, he mentions a narration on the authority of Anas ibn Malik, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's servant. Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said regarding as-salam, he says, "Inna as-salam ismun min asma'illahi ta'ala wada'ahu fil ardi fa'afshuhu bainakum." This narration states that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "As-salam is one of the names of Allah which He has graced the earth with by teaching humanity this word and this name of His, so spread it amongst one another plentifully." So when we say Assalamu alaikum, right? Assalamu alaikum. This is a name of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are saying As-salam alaykum, meaning the name of Allah, As-salam, which is perfection and purity and a protection of evil or hardship or danger. This is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are saying, As-salamu alaykum, upon you. And there are many, many rulings that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave regarding this. This narration is probably one of the most profound narrations with regards to the virtues of as-salam. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam made it mandatory upon the Muslimin that they spread as-salam. He said, this is one of the names of Allah. He graced you all with it. And He sent it down on the earth and graced humanity with this name of His. So spread it amongst you. Spread it plentifully amongst you. Now, as-salam is something that is specific to the Muslims. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, how are you, etc., etc. These are things that human beings exchange on the regular. But the initiation of As-salamu alaykum, that is only for the Muslims. This is for the Muslimin between one another. And there are many rulings regarding this, how to give it, the etiquettes of it, because it is such a critical component of our religion. The Prophet ﷺ said, ما حسدتكم اليهود على شيء حسدهم على السلام والتأمين في الصلاة أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said in another narration that the Jews are not jealous of anything that you all have as much as they are jealous of as-salam between you and saying Ameen together in salah with the Imam after Surah Al-Fatiha. They are very jealous of these two traditions, these two rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us. And so, because of this, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually made it a condition. He made it a critical component in our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said in the narration of Abu Hurairah in Sahih Muslim, he said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَا تَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا حَتَّى تَحَابُّوا أَفَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ إِذَا فَعَلْتُمُوهُ تَحَابَبْتُمْ أَفْشُوا السَّلَامَ بَيْنَكُمْ. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that I swear by Allah, in whose hand my soul lies, that you will not be permitted to enter paradise until you believe, and you will not fully believe until you love one another. Shall I not inform you and teach you something that if you do it plentifully, you will come to love one another? Spread as-salam amongst one another. And this is recorded to be his first command when he arrived in Medina. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is what the Islamic state, the Muslim state, was built and based on. When he arrived in Medina and they received him on the day of his arrival, he arrived and the first thing he said to the companions, radiyallahu anhum, is he said, أطعموا الطعام وقرأوا السلام على من عرفتم ومن لم تعرفوا. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, feed one another, meaning give to those who are in need, and spread as-salam to one another, you will enter the paradise of your Lord. This is what, if you want to say, what was the Medina and what was the first Muslim state built on? It was built on this motto here. Spreading as-salam to those whom you know and those whom you do not, and feeding those in need. And so, because it is such a critical and paramount part of our religion, and our brotherhood really hinges on it, it's one of the things that will erode near the end of time. In the narration of Ibn Mas'ud, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that one of the signs of the hour, that the day of judgment is near and looming close, is that people will start to give as-salam only to those whom they know from amongst the Muslims, right? That if I know someone in a group, I'll give as-salam to that person specifically and not anyone else. Every Muslim is rightful to as-salam, whether you know him or not, or know her or not. This is not something that we initiate to non-Muslims. It's something that we initiate to Muslims, but it is not solely for those whom we know. It's for those whom we know and those whom we do not know. If you see a Muslim, you say Assalamu alaikum. And if you want to see the strength of a community, you look at these things. How do they convey as-salam to one another? When you're walking in the grocery store and you see a Muslim family or a Muslim brother that you don't know, you've never met this person, do you say as-salam to them? Or do you put your head down and not make eye contact and avoid them like the plague because it's somehow embarrassing? I mean, we've all been in this situation, right? This is part of our religion. Assalamu alaikum, to those whom we know and those whom we do not. It could almost be said, especially to those whom we do not know. And so much good comes from as-salam, and so much good is deprived, or one of us is deprived of so much good once we abandon conveying as-salam to one another. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen our bonds. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us what we are ignorant of and to benefit us from that which He teaches us. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.